we're talking about the first quarter here in Nigeria, where the Securities and Exchange Commission released a press statement today highlighting some of the key discussions at its first Capital Markets Committee held virtually on Wednesday. Now, looking to some of the key points of the CMC meeting for me is licensed dealer and CEO at Carrier Asset Management, Johnson Chukwu. Good evening to you, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Boston, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Pick a few highlights for me from the CMC meeting, which was held yesterday.
I think the major highlights are, one, for the industry operators, the market operators, and the regulators to evolve a strategy around cyber security to forestall any possible cyber security breach within the market. Secondly, on the issue of the master plan, the capital market master plan, the review of the capital market master plan, and updating it in tandem with current development in the market. And then the third factor is the issue of approval, the legislation, the Investment and Securities Act Amendment Act bill that will amend the investment IST such that we will bring the law to current development in the market. And then we also talked around the issue of introduction of charges on debt instruments, secondary market debt instruments.
Well, let's talk about the market roadmap, which I'm sure you've been following over the last couple of years. The SEC says it wants it to be reviewed. When are we going to have a new one? What's the latest on the restructuring of this very important document? Do we have new timelines and other details on that?
Well, the basic thing is that the market operators, which is SEC, and we as market operators have been working around the clock to bring that policy to bring a review of that policy. As you also observe, the market is evolving at a very fast rate. We've seen introduction of new products. We've seen introduction of new technologies. We've seen automation across the breadth and depth of the market. So the master plan is now being modified to bring into play many of these new evolutions in the capital market, as well as not lose sight of the need to maintain market integrity, to maintain market efficiency, and to ensure that the cost of doing business operating in the market, it remains competitive to what applies anywhere in the world. So in terms of timeline, it's expected that the revised master plan will come to stream hopefully before the end of this year. And but the most important thing we have to bear in mind is that the revised master plan is being done in such a way as to make our market as globally competitive as any other evolving market or emerging market. And that's, for me, is a core of the transformation we're going to witness when the master plan is fully brought to life.
The master plan, the NCM master plan or roadmap is being reviewed, is around almost 10 years, which was the initial period for it. Looking back very quickly for us, Johnson, do you think this master plan had actually been successful in some point in making the market a whole lot better, re-engineering the market, your marketplace?
Yes, Bossy, let me tell you a couple of transformations we've seen. You know, sometimes when you are now living in a new age, you tend to forget what it used to be. Today, we have what we call straight-through settlement. You no longer worry that your operator, your broker will do away with your resources. You have your dividend warrants are now e-dividends. So you no longer have to deal with the issue of dividend warrants being posted and not get received or arriving at your post when the instrument has become stale. So we now have virtual trading across the length and breadth of the market. Most people are actually operating from their offices. We now allow people to actually trade with their handheld devices. And then we're also looking at a market that has improved in terms of structure, in terms of products. We now have derivatives, some level of derivatives in the market. We have cross-border listing. So these are transformations that have taken place as a result of the master plan. And we've also, for the first time, attracted a critical sector of the Nigerian economy. The telecommunication sector is now listed. Remember, one of the key things about the master plan, we want to attract the structure, we want to bring the structure of the economy into the capital markets. So the sector that comes about 15% market is now listed, unlike what we used to have. So that we've seen a lot of transformation. We've seen market breadth improve. We've seen market depth deepen. And this we are brought about from the capital market roadmap or master plan.
Well, are there discussions around the cost of doing business in the market, the cost of trading, the cost of issuance, across the various asset classes, equities, fixed income, or debt instruments, whether you are issued a CP and all of that on Market Street?
Until recently, we've seen a progressive decline or reduction in those charges, in trading charges or commissions in the market. It was only last year, effective January this year, that new charges were introduced in the market, which is the charge on secondary market fixed income debt instrument trading. Of course, what the market regulators said is that, look, the debt market has actually grown and matured. So the area where we had to cut them some slack, give them tax holidays, as well as not charge anything for regulating that market segment has passed, because that segment has matured, and it's time for them to contribute to the regulation of the capital market. So beyond that, if you look at every other commission, we've seen progressive reduction in charges induced by the regulator. So for market operators and investors in the market, what we will now see is a very friendly market environment in terms of cost. If you look at, for instance, sub-broking charge commission, we've seen a progressive decline. In fact, today, some institutional investors, like the PFAs, pay as low as 0.2% as brokerage commission, and some even pay less than that. So the market, in terms of charges, have actually been structured or driven in such a way as to reduce the cost of doing business in the capital market.
Well, quickly on investor protection, is always a top issue at every CMC. I'm sure you'll agree with me. What's new on this from you market professionals and the regulators?
Of course, we all agree that investor protection is the core, is at the heart of capital market investment, because investors are not protected. If investors are abused, then the market will lose its integrity, and then you won't have market participants, you won't have investors coming to the market. So it's at the heart of capital market regulation. And for us as operators, we have what you call safe regulation. We also have a trade group that also further regulates market operators. That's in addition to the regulation coming from the Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the NGX. So we have multiple layers of regulation, and at every CMC meeting, it's one of the key things we need to keep driving, because for you to have an orderly market, you must have an effective regulation. Like I said, we have a broad spectrum of regulation, starting from the same regulatory environment as market operators, up to the highest regulator, which is the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Is the nature of investors' protection changing with fintech, digital space, and all of that in Nigeria? What more do you think is now being required, the challenges you market professionals and even the regulators face?
Well, it's not just in Nigeria. There's market regulation and market operation is actually changing as a result of fintech. It's a transformation is taking place globally. As market operators, you have to deal with the invasiveness of fintech financial technology. But in as much as you deal with the issue of invasiveness or ubiquitousness of that technology, you also have to appreciate the value in terms of service efficiency and reduce costs that fintech is bringing to the market. So you now have to build a structure that will make sure that you have layers of control, layers of barrier, that both physical and logical controls, to ensure that those who should not have access to your system do not have access to your system. You do not have intruders come into your system or hack into your system. So you are now dealing with not just physical barriers of physical control. You're also dealing with several levels of logical controls, password controls, and other forms of control. Firewalls, you have to build into your system to make sure you don't have abuse of your system. So it's coming, fintech is coming with a lot of benefits, but anybody who has adopted fintech, which is simple enough for you to remain in business, you must also appreciate that there are risks associated with fintech, and you must build enough controls to mitigate those risks, which is one of the things that was discussed at Cmc meeting, that we need to, as market operators and as regulators, come up with a cybersecurity strategy that will preempt and mitigate any possible abuse, any possible cybersecurity risk.
Very interesting. Johnson Chukwu, we appreciate your time speaking to this latest SEC market meeting yesterday and the new direction moving forward. Johnson Chukwu at Carrier Asset Management, thank you very much and see you next time.